Hello, welcome to the MMQB NFL podcast. I'm Conor, 1N, and that's Albert Breer over there in Massachusetts, just home from the league meetings in New York. And before we get into our little fast break weekend preview here on Thursday, Albert stood up defiantly and challenged Commissioner Goodell to find an alternative to Bad Bunny. No, I'm just kidding. That was really the only.
Somebody did ask. I wasn't actually in the room for the question, but I think he very firmly decided to stay out of that conversation. So
I give, you know what though, the more that I think about this, and we'll talk about the halftime show for a minute, and then and get into the weekend slate.
The reality, you know what pisses me off about it though? The reality of it is no one cares that much. Stop. Like, you do not care that much.
I think that when the totality of the announcement settled into everybody, I think that there were people that were licking their chops in terms of an opportunity to turn this into something that it wasn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Do you think that makes sense?
Yeah. I mean, I think it was just, well, they're always laying in wait though. And this is one of those things like where it's like territory that people are trying to take for their own. That is right. It's like the cultural turf war. You know what I mean? Like, this is a big piece of Americana, and so we have to claim it as our own. And if it's not something that reflects our own values, well, then we've got to attack it with all our might. It's more symbolic. You know what I mean? It's more. Well, the Super Bowl halftime show is this slice of Americana. So we need to have that slice of Americana for ourselves. And if we don't have it, well, then we have to fight it.
I mean, has anybody seen like the Blues Brothers halftime show?
Yeah, I mean,
what year was that? It was 1997, right? So it wasn't that far away. Like Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi's brother, you know, did the halftime show of the biggest game in American sports at the time. And so like the fact that this thing has been sacrosanct, like, I don't know, it's been good for 25 years. That doesn't mean it's like not biblical in its level of importance, you know.
I mean, the one for me that like always stuck out as the big one was like the Michael Jackson one at the Rose Bowl. I was in 7th grade for that, I think. That was the Buffalo Dallas Super Bowl, and like that was the one. That was the one for me that was the first one for me that felt like whoa, this is a big deal. And I think that's what they've always been chasing, you know, is like it feeling big like that. And so I mean, this is a little bit of a different play to me. Like, this is about, for Roger, this is about YouTube and trying to, you know, get a younger audience and all of that, which is fine. I mean, I don't know. I'm not paying a ton of attention during the halftime show anyway. But so I'm not offended one way or the other. And they could put like a clown out there and like 3, you know, court jesters, and I probably wouldn't even notice. But I guess to some people it's a very big deal because, again, we're in the middle of a huge cultural turf war, and every little thing like this, every little piece of turf must be defended.
January 22nd, 1989, Super Bowl 23 at Joe Robbie Stadium in Miami Gardens. We had an Elvis impersonator come out.
Really?
Yeah, it was an Elvis impersonator introduced by Bob Costas in a 3D commercial for Diet Coke, okay? January 28th, 1990, marching bands playing a 40th year happiness salute to the cartoon Peanuts. Okay.
Back then though, the commercials were a bigger deal than the halftime show.
New Kids on the Block in 1991. That's pretty solid.
Gloria was that in Tampa?
Let's see. 1991 was Tampa. Yeah,
so that was the Whitney Houston Gulf War national anthem. So that year the national anthem was a bigger deal than the halftime show.
1992, Gloria Estefan, can't beat that. I mean, and then
huge,
1993 was Michael Jackson, like you said. 1994 was Rockin' Country Sunday with Clint Black, Tanya Tucker, Travis Tritt, and the Judds. How about that?
So that
Um,
game was in Atlanta. So like that would be like the Southern theme, I think, right?
yeah. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was the Rockin'. It was called Rockin' Country Sunday. Then there was an Indiana Jones themed one the next year with like Patti LaBelle and Teddy Pendergrass, Tony Bennett, and the Miami Sound Machine. Wow, what was everybody smoking back then?
Yeah, because
That's
that game
wild.
was in Miami. So that was, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
But still,
But
Indiana Jones.
I think back then, like those were like more, again, like those were sort of reflective of where they were being held, you know, or like a celebration of the place they were being held. Like the
That's
bands, you
cool.
mentioned the bands, I think that was in New Orleans, right? So that makes some sense.
Yeah.
So I think like it's, you know, again, like back then, like I remember as a kid being way more into the Bud Bowl than I was into the halftime show.
I liked the what
Do
was
you
the
guys,
thing on
are you old enough to remember when I think it was Bud Light drafted Bud Dry to be its quarterback? I think Bud Dry was the quarterback.
I am old enough to remember
If you go back and watch those, though, I bet you they're still hilarious. Hold on, Bud.
this Celebrity Death Match. Do you remember Celebrity Death Match? Where
The
they were like
celebrity.
the claymation wrestling on MTV, and they had claymation effigies of celebrities, and they had them like murdering each other, and they used to counter program the Super Bowl with Celebrity Death Match, and I used to be pretty into that.
I
Not gonna
got
lie.
the here it is, the 1991 Bud Bowl 3, where Bud Dry
Bowl
was
3.
advertised as the top draft choice at quarterback.
That's amazing.
So I was right. Yeah, Bud Dry was drafted by Bud Light to be at the quarterback.
What a seminal moment. I'll just say I'll say
The
this and
Bud
I'll
Bowl
move
was
on.
great, though. I love the Bud Bowl.
I'll say this about Bad Bunny. Like anyone, I think it was Robert Mays who pointed it out. If you go to like his Spotify page, he has like 900 trillion streams, and it's just not even close to any other performer. I think Taylor Swift included, like in the world. And yeah, like you should want this guy to be your
So,
halftime.
but that kind of like it shows their priority too, which is
Yeah.
another thing that I think some of these people are going to be offended by, which is younger audience, global audience,
Yeah. I mean,
right?
listen, we can't and I used to joke about it a lot, like, okay, why are we sending great games over to England? And I honestly think England's gonna start getting the shaft in this thing in the pecking order. It's gonna be like, hey, it's cool for you guys to kind of jump on the bandwagon first, but we got a lot of other people that are trying to get into this club that we're gonna probably give a better deal to. But it's short-sighted to believe that we could have kept this thing bottled up. It's like legitimately the greatest drug on the planet, and we've been just hogging it for the last, I don't know, 60 years. And
Yeah.
it's time for everybody else to get a piece of it. But markets like Mexico City, Brazil, where they have aired games before, it's more advantageous from an advertising standpoint, from a time zone standpoint. And if there's a act that appeals to a broader audience that brings in those markets that they're looking to
Right.
go after, great. I mean, and
I've
but
said this before. They have us. Like you and I are
right.
going to watch regardless.
We're not going anywhere. Yeah.
Like so, the 60-year-old guy in like Minnesota or Wisconsin is going to watch the Super Bowl regardless. Now he may bitch. He may get on Facebook and complain about the halftime show. He may worry that like the America he knew is slipping out of his fingers, slipping out of his hands, but like he's going to be watching regardless. The people who might not be watching are the younger people, are the people overseas, and that's who they're looking to get. You know, we've talked about this with the London Super Bowl, right? Like the idea of putting up a game in London is like the risk for the NFL is if you kick the game off at 3:30 to accommodate that, right? Then like that could actually affect the big number because the people who drive the Super Bowl rating are not you and me. We're going to be there again. We're going to be there regardless. It's the person who, well, yeah, like maybe I'll go skiing that day or I'll watch the game. And if the game is on in the middle of the day, they're going to be less likely to make the decision to sit down and watch the game. which ostensibly could take that number from whatever it is, 115 million to 95 million or
Yeah.
100 million, like that can happen. And so like they are sensitive to that, but like how can you have both? You know what I mean? Like, and they're very focused on that, on those people who could take it or leave it. You know what I mean? Who aren't necessarily going to be watching the game, because that's how you grow.
And I'll leave it with this too. I do think that there is something that I think is neat about it. Gilberto Manzano, who's one of our staff writers here at the MMQB, wrote a great column about just what it means to him personally. And he talked a little bit about having a Spanish-speaking performer for someone who grew up in a Spanish-speaking household. And I think that there's something that should not be lost there, that I think it's going to be really cool to a large percentage of people living in America who grew up in a primarily Spanish-speaking household. I have I have members of my own family who have, married from different cultures, all that stuff. And I have gotten more texts about Bad Bunny, Albert, than, and I say this in like the nicest way. Like I had to go not figure out who he was. I knew who he was. But I knew him more as an actor, which is crazy to me. Like I knew him more as like an actor in an Adam Sandler movie, or he did Saturday Night Live recently, which I thought was really funny. I had to kind of get into the music, but that, again, like you said, I'm not the guy. And there's nothing sadder than people who are like, yeah, I stopped watching the NFL. I ran into like a couple of those recently. And they're like, oh, that's what you do for work? Yeah, I stopped watching the NFL during all that social justice stuff. And then you bring up like Cam Scatabo, and they're like, oh, you had like 3 touchdowns last week, and they have like their FanDuel app up. And I'm like, yeah, when did you stop watching the NFL? You didn't. Though, like, it's just like something dumb to say when someone brings that up. Choosing work boots used to mean sacrificing comfort or durability. If they felt good, they didn't last. And if they lasted, they wrecked your feet. Brunt thought that was BS, so they built tough boots that feel great from day one. No break-in, no sore feet, because people are out there doing real work, and they shouldn't have to choose between comfort and durability. Guys, I got a pair of these shipped to me, and I'll just tell you what, I was out doing yard work all weekend, but they also look good enough where you can wear them out to dinner, you can wear them to church, you can put them on anytime. You don't feel weird. They fit in with your outfit, but then also you got them out in the yard, you got them out doing leaves, you got them out fixing the stone wall in the backyard, and the stones fall on your feet and you feel totally fine. You feel great. These are no doubt the most comfortable work boots I've ever worn, and they're built to perform whether you need waterproof, safety toe, soft toe, pull on, lace up. They have options that can handle whatever job site you're into, and Brent stands behind what they make. You can wear them to work, and if they're not right for you, send them back. I don't know any other brand doing that. That's a company that believes in their product. Brunt isn't just about work boots. They offer a full range of high-performance gear built for tough jobs. From heavy-duty work pants to weather-resistant jackets, Brunt designs durable, reliable workwear to keep you protected and productive in any condition. Brunt was tired of workwear brands out there cutting corners. You work too hard to be stuck in uncomfortable boots that don't hold up. So, they built something better. Boots that are insanely comfortable and built for any job site. For a limited time, our listeners get $10 off at Brunt when you use code MMQB at checkout. Just head to bruntworkwear.com. Use the code MMQB and you're good to go. And after you order, they'll ask where you heard about Brunt. Do us a favor. Tell them it was from this show. Let's get into the weekend preview, because I know you're all still here. Little bit of an interesting, and by interesting, I mean, gosh, like Giants Eagles is probably your best bet in the early window here.
Well, this is like we talked about this, Connor. Like, this is like strategically what they did, right? Like, they stacked the beginning of the schedule.
Yep.
And like, what goes up must come down. Like, you have to, like, at some point there's going to be a cost for that. And I think that's what we're looking at now.
There should have been a lot of premium games on the schedule, but this is the first week that I've really noticed where injuries are just destroying potentially high octane matchups. You have Bears Ravens. Like, if you think about the Bears on their current trajectory, and if the Ravens were in the playoff hunt, what a cool, like, kind of prove it game that would be for Ben Johnson and his group. 49ers Texans are another perfect example where, I mean, before, maybe if Houston would have survived against Seattle, but I mean, Houston just, let's start there. I mean, what's
They
going
look
on there?
disjointed. I don't know
I
what's
mean,
going.
I've never seen anything like it. And time after time in that game on Monday, did you stay up, by the way? Did you make it the whole way?
No,
I mean, I didn't either. I
I'm
fell
not gonna
asleep with
lie. Yeah.
7 minutes left in the third quarter, and I woke up and found out that CJ Stroud got us within 3 points of a fantasy victory. But it was the fumbles and all that stuff, the picks that cost
You
us
woke
in
up
the
bewildered on the couch.
end. Yeah, that's always the worst, you know. But what's going on there? I mean, that just
Yeah.
looks. That just
I also
doesn't look
woke
right
up on
at
the
all.
couch to find myself. What's Scott Van Pelt doing on the screen?
Why are you here? Who are you?
Yeah, I want to say give them time. They've had 6 weeks. CJ, I'm trying. It's hard to watch him, and you see like some missed layups, and it's just like, is he not trusting what he's seeing right now? And there's a lot that goes into that offense, and they're trying to empower the quarterback, which is what CJ wanted. And so you try to give them some time. The offensive line obviously has been something that they've had to manage, but I don't fully grasp why, like, how he looks so good as a rookie and we just haven't gotten that product back yet,
It's it's not a good look. I mean, and it's not a good look, I think, when you go out and you restock, when you shuffle the cards and you restock the coaching staff and you kind of bring in this hybrid New England Rams kind of thing. And it looks like neither of those right now, Albert. And again, I think that part of it could be that you misplayed your hand, and I thought it was a good idea to get rid of Laramie Tunsil. I did. I was on record for that. But maybe you misplayed your hand a little bit there. I don't know. I mean, is the offensive line that bad, or is Stroud going through kind of and I'm not saying that this is permanent, but almost like a Wentzian kind of dip where he's starting to see ghosts where they aren't, where he's, even in clean pockets, he's just looking like, to me, markedly worse than he did as a rookie. I mean, he had a phenomenal rookie
season. Like, he just doesn't trust it the same way he did. And I think that's sort of the issue. And, I think it's notable that they're starting 2 rookies now at receiver, which is part of it with Higgins and Noel starting. They're starting a rookie at left tackle. They've got a first-year offensive coordinator. The running back position obviously isn't what they thought it would be because of Joe Mixon's injury. So you do have like a lot of ready-made excuses. At the same time, you're hoping that he can elevate people around him at some point. And, I'm interested because that was one that I want to dig into this week and kind of ask around a little bit on. Because you eventually have enough elements where they keep addressing this and addressing that. And they've got big decisions to make on CJ after the year too. You know what I mean? Like, it's, like I do know, like, just having watched him at Ohio State again, once he gets knocked around a little bit, is he the same guy? And they were able to keep him pretty clean as a rookie,
Right.
And so that's the part that I'm interested to see. Can he evolve into, the quarterback that isn't going to be kind of riding the roller coaster with whatever his team is going through, which it feels like through 2.5 years now, that's sort of what he is. When things are going well, no one throws a prettier ball, right? No one's more accurate. Nobody places it better. Now, can you sustain that when things become jumbled on you? Because it's going to happen. You know what I mean? It happens with the best quarterbacks. I mean, look at Mahomes this year, what he's had to deal with, So like, that's, I think, what we're waiting for answers on. And again, like, you want to give them a little grace because the amount of rookies that they're dealing with one of those rookies, really being the offensive coordinator too.
It sucks because Houston might be playing the best defensive football in the league right now. I mean, pick your fancy metric. I mean, EPA per play allowed, they're the best team in the league, and then your offense is, I mean, generously 23rd. I mean, Jalen Petrie is maybe the best safety in the NFL right now. That entire defensive line from Danielle Hunter over to Will Anderson, Sheldon Rankins, friend of the program, in the middle of that defense. I mean, almost everybody is playing unbelievably well. And the other side is the complete opposite. In Seattle, they do that cool thing now with Mike McDonald where, have you seen this, where they overload one side of the of the offensive line with their defense? So they'll take like 4 or 5 guys and they'll put them all on the right side, or they put them on the left side. And to do that against Ursery and Laken Tomlinson and Jake Andrews, I mean, that's just an unwinnable match.
Bad place to be.
Texans.
Yeah. Bad place to be.
That was really something. But we'll see if they can get back off the blacktop against the 49ers in Houston. So you never know. But right now the Colts are just running away with this one. What else? You mentioned Packers Steelers till the end, because that to me is the game of the weekend.
You mentioned the Ravens, and I think the Ravens, are they going to be 6-5 on Thanksgiving?
I mean, I hope so, but
Bears. We'll listen to their schedule: Bears, Dolphins, Vikings, Browns, Jets. Can they win all
Lamar
those?
Jackson back at practice yesterday. So we're taping this on a Thursday. So
Kyle Hamilton's been back.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a team that's tremendously beat up that now has its back against the wall that's coming off of a bye.
Yeah.
I think they beat the Bears. And then I think you look at the schedule and you're like, if the Vikings are still scuffling around, the other 3 teams there are the Dolphins, the Browns, and the Jets. And now, are you 6-5 going into Thanksgiving? And then you get the Bengals 2 times in 3 weeks, which those could be huge games if Joe Flacco can keep the Bengals going.
It's gut check time for Zach Orr, certainly, and this maligned defense, because if you go back, Albert, to the first 4 weeks of the season when Lamar Jackson's healthy, this is the 3rd or 4th best offense in the NFL. Just statistically. And I don't think that's even an argument. I mean, Todd Monken and those guys were rolling. And while I know that is not devoid of problems or issues in and of itself, statistically, they're kind of untouchable. I mean, this was a unit that was rolling. So we'll see. But man, would I love for them to just come back and be the berserker in this season, don't you think?
Yeah. I mean, I think that there's a real chance of it, and great berserker reference. But yeah, I think the Ravens. I think the Ravens are there. I mean, I look at this is when I look at this as a whole, this to me could be Resurrection Sunday, right? Ravens. The Bengals are playing
the Catholic
Jets.
Church would challenge you, Albert, that's Easter, but go ahead.
The Bengals are playing the Jets, right? So the Bengals can get back to 500 this week, right? So you're looking at that. And look, I don't know. I think, just some of the teams we thought were going to be good that are now eating up television segments, like the What's Wrong With television segments, right?
Mm-hmm.
Could start to build some momentum. Even Buffalo, Buffalo has been beat up by a lot of people, right? They play the Panthers this week. And if they beat the Panthers this week, then all of a sudden that Chiefs game next week becomes a massive game.
Yep.
Because they're both 5-3 then. And if they could beat the Chiefs next week, then Dolphins, Bucks, Texans, Steelers, you can see them starting to roll a little bit too. So yeah, I mean, I think this is for some of those teams that we knew that we felt like they were going to be good coming into the year. There's a chance for them to kind of stamp it this Sunday and start to get rolling.
You know what else? At first glance, when you look at the schedule, you're like, I don't know. I don't think there's anything there. But to double dip and go back in and go,
I was reaching for a third team there. I will admit that. When I was like, oh, this is really cool. Look at the Bengals and the Ravens. And I'm like, there aren't that many that.
Resurrection Sunday.
Oh, it sounded good, right?
It does sound good. I mean, anytime you can die and come back to life, I think that's a big part of
Yeah.
it. Blue Chew is the upgrade button for your sex life. Chewable tablets that deliver stronger, harder, long-lasting erections without the hoops. No waiting rooms, no pharmacy lines, just quick online visits. And once approved by a licensed medical provider, Blue Chew sends the chews straight to your door. Made to work, and your first month is free. BlueChew.com. Simple as that. Guys, if you've been thinking about it, now is the time to try Blue Chew with your first month free. Great sex is a few clicks away. Sign up at BlueChew.com. Blue Chew tablets are made in the USA and prepared and shipped directly to your door. The best part, it's all done online. That means no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Make life easier by getting harder and discover your options at BlueChew.com. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try your first month of Blue Chew free when you use promo code MMQB. Pay $5 shipping. That's promo code MMQB. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the podcast.
A big revenge game for the Eagles this week, right?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm going to talk Broncos.
What are the
Cowboys.
streets saying in New Jersey?
Yeah, listen, we had our fun. We had our fun the last 2 weeks. I think everybody was thumping their chest, and Scatabo fever kind of reached its height. And
we talked about the Scatabo jerseys on the skeletons.
Right? Yeah, I mean, trunk or treat, kids are running around dressed as Jaxson Dart. I mean, darts. The dart thing I think will continue to be. The dart thing will continue to give people reason for massive optimism, right?
Right.
And what's interesting to me is like what happens if Dart continues to look awesome, but just like everyone around him continues to kind of like poop their pants in big spots. Because to me, that's like, okay, like what do you do if you're John Mara? Because clearly the quarterback was scouted by and selected by the head coach who is calling plays for or designing an offense for Mike Kafka, I guess, is calling the plays, but is calling helping design the offense for the quarterback and has worked with the offensive coordinator for like the last half decade. What do you do? Are you just like, okay, let's run it back? Or are you like we can't have the GM back because the rest of the players aren't good and we need to build an offensive line? Like, what's your game plan here? If this can, like, let's just say it follows a similar pattern of like big win and then like weird loss and then like even weirder loss, then big win. What happens if we follow that pattern through the remainder of the season?
Yeah, and that's a fair question. I think am I wrong? I think their contracts are up too.
Yeah, because did they both come in together
on 5-year deals?
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah,
I think that's right. That they're both in contract years. I think this is year 5 for both of them. So, it's complicated for sure. And then do you do a Band-Aid deal? I don't know. I mean, that one, I think what's best, that question, what's best for the rookie quarterback, unless they start reeling off wins and make the playoffs, then it's all moot, right? Like, but I think that question of what's best for the rookie quarterback becomes a complicated one if he plays well and they aren't winning, so, because if you're, and then John Mara said it, like, and obviously John Mara's dealing with much bigger things now and our thoughts are with him, but, he has said it like, there is and should be pressure on these guys to perform. They've had a lot of runway to do this. And so, at 2-5, like, let's just say they go 500 the rest of the year, that gets them to 7-10, but the young quarterback plays well. What do you do? It's pretty complicated.
Man, I don't envy John Mara in that situation. I think that's a tough one. And another weird year where just like, it's another weird year where there's just another former Giant having an astronomically good season somewhere else. I'm not saying that Daniel Jones would have ever done that in New York, because I think that the surrounding component parts were a disaster, and maybe that's your answer when it comes to some of these roster questions. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting times here. If they beat the Eagles again, I mean, that's like, if they beat the Eagles again, that's like Syracuse beat Clemson when right after I left school, when Dino Babers was the head coach, and then he got to stay for like 6 years after that because he just like,
that was a massive. Was that the upset that like wound up moving Trevor Lawrence into the lineup? Or is that, or do I have the time wrong there? I think. Hold on. So it's 2000. Let me see.
2017.
Was it 2017?
Yeah. Trevor Lawrence wasn't at quarterback in that one.
Okay. Oh, that was the gap year between Watson and Lawrence. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Because there was like, so 2018 was Lawrence's first year as starter.
God, Travis Etienne, Hunter Renfrow, Cleveland Farrell. This team was loaded. Holy God.
Oh, no. Clemson went undefeated that year.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, Clemson, those teams were freaking ridiculous.
Kelly Bryant was the quarterback. For
AJ Terrell at corner. Isaiah Simmons.
My God.
Yeah.
Make college football great again when you had to pay players through paper bags. Much better. And then just out of nowhere, like one booster just gets hot, and then you have this team with like 11 NFL first round picks on it, and Clemson of all places, Clemson, South Carolina. How about it? Really quickly, I want to hit Broncos and Cowboys, because this is, I mean, this game could be 65-60, or this could be the game where Dallas runs into Vance Joseph, who has been playing, may be the best defensive coordinator of the last 2-year stretch in the NFL, and they just completely shut this down. I don't know, but the Broncos gave up 19 points before the fourth quarter explosion to this Giants offense. So I don't know where they are, but I like just throwing these two ingredients into a blender and seeing what comes out.
Yeah, I mean, Denver's won 4 in a row now, and I think they've got like, I think, some real like gut check character wins. The Eagles and Giants games to me were like, all right, like things aren't perfect. You got to come from behind. Can you do it? They've done that twice, and those were both, I think, miracle comebacks. And the way they're playing the fourth quarter is incredible. Which I think is a testament to the coaching staff and the way that they've been built. That whole Parcells philosophy that Peyton had, and really grinding those guys during training camp. And this is a game they should win. I think, at least. I think they're more well-rounded than the Cowboys. And because like the Cowboys have the high-powered offense, I think like the expectation that they'll completely shut down the Dallas offense with the way Dak's playing, the way Pickens is playing alongside Lamb, all of that, is maybe a little bit unrealistic. So, like, to me, like, this is a good like game to check in on where Bo Nix and the offense are.
Yeah.
Like, are they able to kind of go shot for shot if they have to with the Cowboys? It'll be interesting to see.
You're looking at, because the Broncos offense, to me, like everyone's saying, it's backwards and it's not going the way that it should. But to me, the biomarkers are there for a good offense. Like, they're 14th in APA per play, so they're kind of middle of the pack at that point. But they have a top 10 explosive play rate, right? Like they have a bunch of, what are those 20 plus yard shots, and I just don't think that the little things that make this a consistent kind of humming machine, that stuff's going to iron itself out over time. Like, I still think they're figuring out what they're doing at running back, and they're cycling a lot of guys in and out. And I think some of that, gets complicated from time to time. This is a get off the mat game for them right now. Cause I mean, this Cowboys defense is not stopping anybody right now.
Yeah.
Last but not least, Albert, let's talk Packers Steelers. This is a fun one. Anytime you can have Rodgers, in Green Bay, and passive aggression and hurt feelings and all that stuff, this is a good thing. I am so much more looking forward to this than I was Steelers Jets, especially in hindsight. Ridiculous game. didn't. Um, but
It
this
told us,
one,
they like actually told us like kind of nothing, you know?
yeah, I mean, absolutely nothing
Right.
about this season. But
It's
now,
another like one of those like week one is nonsense games, you know?
yes, but this one, I don't know. I picked the Steelers just because. I think that the Aaron Rodgers will to make someone else look bad for wronging him is very strong, and I think it could overcome a lot of. I think it could overcome a lot of earthly factors. Let's say that.
And I think the Steelers are like, I mean, to me, even though they lost last week, like I think you're starting to see Aaron Rodgers really get comfortable in what they're doing in the way that he's playing off schedule. And you see some of the throws that he's making across his body. You're seeing some of the things that you'd see in the prime of his career, which I think shows he's starting to come to a comfort level, maybe even more so than he ever had with the Jets within the offense. DK Metcalf's playing great. The offensive line, the young offensive line had trouble early on. I think they're starting to play better. So, like you start to put together where they are. And this is a fascinating matchup because you have a Packers team that comes in, and the Packers have been like the schizophrenic team, like where at the beginning of the year, you have the 2 wins in 5 days, right? Like over the two teams that were in the NFC title game last year, Lions and the Commanders. Then the crash, they lose to the Browns, and they have the weird tie with the Cowboys. And now they've sort of kind of gotten themselves back up on their feet. Like, what does that look like? Like this, I think we sort of like find out a little bit about both teams in this one. You know what I mean? Like kind of like this is a good check in on both those teams.
What's really cool is that I mean the push, and I think Art Smith has done a great job there. I mean, I honestly think he's a head coach next year. But the way that you've invested in kind of these, it's very un-Rodgersy, right? It's big formations, a lot of tight ends on the field, right? And what they've been doing really well is just figuring out different ways to clear out linebackers and anyone who's kind of muddying up the middle of the field and give Rodgers a chance to just get rid of the ball really fast, right?
Yep.
And not only is it accentuating one of Rodgers' strengths, which is accuracy, it's keeping him out of harm's way, which I think that Jets offense was doing a little bit of a disservice because you ruptured your Achilles on like this big sweeping boot play, which at 41 on that turf is just not. It's not what you should be doing with your life right now. You know what I mean? Yeah. And there are the theatrical elements of it. Like Rodgers can still spin it and get out of the pocket when he needs to. But I think that this offense has done a really nice job of protecting him and just giving him some options too. And so, I think we're just always like, not me and you, but I think when a coach struggles, and I put struggles in air quotes because the Falcons thing was a mess when Art Smith was there. Like this was a great hire as an offensive coordinator. And, when I had my list of replacement candidates for Brian Callahan, he was near the top and everyone's like, Art Smith. But I mean, this guy, Desmond Ridder at quarterback, and was almost leading the league in explosive
play
he
got
rate
screwed
with
in
the
Atlanta.
Falcons.
I mean, like we can call that what it is. Like,
come on.
He had a plan.
Ridiculous.
He had like, and I again, like I think when you look back at Atlanta, like he was very upfront with the owner about like where they were, and like looking at it in 22 and 23, it was like, all right, like, so like, where do we go to find our franchise quarterback? And in 22, he didn't think there was one in the draft, and he was right about that, unless you want to ding him for not taking Brock Purdy in the 7th round. And then in 23, well, they could have traded up for Bryce Young or Stroud, but does that solve anything? Does that solve enough? If you're moving up from, 8, and certainly trading up for Anthony Richardson wouldn't have been the greatest move. And so if they were waiting for 24 to draft one, then that was actually probably a sound strategy looking at the quarterbacks who are in that class, right?
Right. Yeah.
So,
I mean, like, what
I don't
else
know.
would you have
Like,
done?
I think like you look at like the decision, if you have full context of the decisions that he made there, they actually make sense, and like you said, like he's always been able to fit his offense for the talent on hand. I don't think it's a coincidence that DK Metcalf's having this big breakout year. You know what I mean? Because I think Art's got a good idea how to use him. and they're developing a offensive line. Offensive line's been an issue there forever. And, they've got a bunch of young guys up front who are gradually starting to play better. There are just like a lot of things that are improving over the course of the year. And I also think, like, given what's happened with Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, you got to give them credit for last year too now.
100%. I totally agree with that. It looks different with perspective. And just close with this, Albert. The NFL is probably thanking their lucky stars right now. And, it's one of those things where, like, my daughter tells me now that there's a kid in their class that has like a 3-strike system, whereas everybody else is on like a different system because he's kind of elevated to a different level of, cool school badass. And, and you kind of look over and you're like, well, I'm not that guy. So that's good. The NFL is looking over at the NBA this morning and saying, glad I'm not that guy, because
that was why I was a little distracted here. Like, this was coming in during, for everybody listening, this was coming in real time that there have been all these arrests. And Chauncey Billups arrested, right? So,
I mean,
which is wild that the head coach is involved. A head coach is involved in this.
You destroyed the dramatic effect of this, but yes, I was going to play Walter Cronkite here and really just sort of lay it out. But
sorry about that.
The head coach, and this is a day after Victor Wembanyama is just unbelievable in the Knicks win. And the Knicks look awesome. Wemby just destroys the Mavericks and looked like the best player I've ever seen. And then the next morning, the FBI is like, hello. So it's Terry Rozier. Rozier. Okay, I'm not a basketball guy. But then Chauncey Billups, the head coach of the freaking Portland Trailblazers. This is linked to the mafia. I mean, it's 2025.
And it's honestly, this is why, you want to know why gambling was illegal for so long, and why sports leagues wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. I remember being on NFL Network back in the day, and we were not allowed to even Brent Musburger the lines. You know what I mean? We weren't even allowed to reference them that way. I got in trouble once for doing it. You know what I mean? Now all of a sudden, the odds are all over the place. This is part of it. You know what I mean? So I think in these cases, the leagues have to come down on them.
Man, that is something else. The freaking head coach of the Portland Trailblazers wrapped up in the mafia. How does one even get contacted by the mafia? Have you ever, maybe we've bumped elbows with the mafia at one time, but have you ever met anyone that's I'm definitely a card-carrying member of the mafia?
I have a college friend who is from Cleveland. I won't say his name. Ends with a vowel.
Okay.
And he his dad, we got into a big bar fight in college.
And this is the 8th instance of you talking about this on the show. Your thirst for violence.
I brought this up before, right?
I think you've brought up a lot of different bar fights. I'm just concerned about your thirst for violence.
This was I was much younger. I was able to kind of, things wouldn't be good if these things happen now. But there was a bar fight, and so his dad called him the next morning and basically said, "So who won the fight?" He had eyes on us, and so we always thought that there was some there might have been some family that went beyond just family involved in our friends' affairs.
Oh, that's really fun. I like that. Well, I will say this to all of you out there in listener land. Just bet responsibly. We don't have to become Terry Rozier.
Rozier,
I'm gonna get crushed. Yeah. I'm trying to get into the NBA now. I don't know Rozier.
Terry Rozier, yeah.
Okay. Or Chauncey Billups. Just a little $5 parlay here and there. That's all you got to do. Fun weekend coming up
Or
here.
Trailblazers, like what like this is happening like right at the start of their season. Have they played a game yet?
I have no idea. Oh, that sucks.
I did send you some homework too, by the way. You have in your text you have Bud Bowl 3, so I want you to watch that before we
Got to
we
check out Bud
reconvene.
Bowl 3.
Yeah.
The Trailblazers lost their season opener.
Oh, it was yesterday. So
Do,
did the FBI wait like allow them to have their season opener and then come in afterwards? You know.
boy, it would be fun to look at. I mean, could you like this is Phillips press conference, Timberwolves. Like just, isn't that crazy? Like there's just a press conference of him on YouTube like 8 hours before he's arrested by the FBI.
A legal poker operation tied to the mafia. So are these poker games happening in like smoky rooms? Like,
I mean, I would hope so.
yeah, like, like kind of like one of those places. It's like a door that doesn't look like a door that leads down a set of stairs into like a smoky room.
People are more adventurous than I am, but that's never a place that you want to be. Even if you win, are you leaving with the money? I don't know. Anyway, be careful out there, guys. Stay safe, gamble responsibly, and we'll see you back here on Monday.